make a country where the taxes are not just, there are no taxes, but they're voluntary, and you're actually getting something in return when you pay them. You're becoming the shareholder of the country where you're living in. We really wanted to fix those fundamental, I think, flaws in the ways that the societies are running today. So this is the territory. It's a beautiful place, 7 square kilometers. I've been always showing it to people, yet we couldn't access it for more than 8 years. We were struggling to even get there because Croatia was very much determined not to allow us to basically start physically developing this piece of land. But right now I'm very proud to announce that this area over here has been dedicated as Marina Mateos, according to our representative here in Argentina, because he was the first contributor to the development of Marina. And that this part of the island is now being actively developed as we speak, and that the center of the city is going to be developed next week. So, you know, a lot of changes after the 8 years of not being able to access Liberland and not being able to get stuff done. And we have got two neighbors, Croatia and Serbia. Serbia from very beginning stated they don't mind creation of Liberland. It was not created on their territory, which was very helpful because historically this territory belonged to Serbia. With Croatia, we're still working on a good relations step by step. It's a lot of fun. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can follow all the fun that we have with Croatia. We've got now 735,000 people that applied for citizenship. It's a bigger city by now. We could not fit the people inside of this territory. We would be 3 times more overpopulated than the most overpopulated place on this planet, Macau. Because we're only 7 square kilometers. So like reasonable population, if it's really populated, is around 140,000. And right now, after all these years, we finally fulfill fully all the Montevideo criteria, which is quite exciting because we have permanent population, there are people living there, working there. We have very well-defined territory that is not infringing on borders of other countries, which is also very exciting. It wasn't that easy to find that piece of land. Well, it was actually. I just Googled no man's land, and I was shopping in the list of the available territories. And it took 8 years of persistency to get there. We've got government, and we've got also our Minister of Finance, one of the members over there, one of the members of the government with me. And we've got capacity to enter into relations with other countries, which is quite exciting as well, because we are doing diplomacy all around the world. Liberland has representative offices in more than 80 countries. I would say even 120, but 80 are very stable, well-represented countries. So we're better represented than most European countries when it comes to the number of countries where we are actively, diplomatically developing our relations. So there are 3 main topics which I want to talk to you about, and I will be much quicker now. The way we are building government on blockchain, which I think is very important. I think the best use case for blockchain itself is actually governance of a nation state, to make it completely transparent, the way that the state is operating with the funds, that the state is operating with your votes, etc. A little bit more about diplomacy and a little bit more about the settlement and what we are actually currently building. And yes, the ideology, I really like there is a big YouTube video also which characterized Liberland as the state that is the single most ideological empowered nation since the Roman Empire. And I think it's so because our country is not based on the shared color of the skin or the shared birthplace or same language as traditional nations are. We are really sharing the value of the way that we believe we should be governed. We really believe that the state should have a minimal role in our society, that most of the activities, almost all of the activities should be done by the free markets, and that the less the state, basically, the better in our lives. It creates the most prosperity. And we are not alone in this. You can see that places like Singapore, places like Hong Kong, that have also came up with the same ideas, end up to be the most prosperous places on the planet. And what about the government itself? How to make it so that it really is competitive, that it works well? We wanted to limit the activities of government basically only to security, justice, and diplomacy. That means we have only 4 ministries. We don't want to expand it. We are very much focused on the property rights. Whole our constitution was built logically to basically protect property rights of the people in Liberland. And yes, we have a classical division of power, which I think is a good idea, but we also have very smart elements of democracy in our system as well. Majority of citizens can veto any law that the corporate governance, which is represented by Congress, creates. We also have small elements of monarchy. We have this House of Lords, our Senate, which is made out of the biggest contributors to the state budget that also have the capacity to veto the laws that the Congress creates. And we have the voluntary taxes. So the more taxes you pay in Liberland, the more merits you have, which I think is fairly fair, quite fair system to make sure that the people that contribute more to the society have bigger say about its future. Blockchain, we built it on a technology which I think was most fit for the purpose. It was the easiest to change in line with our constitution. There were already some common elements. So I'm quite excited that we've got support from the parity for building it. We are basically building a huge multi-sig wallet for a Bitcoin reserves, by the way, right? So the whole thing is big management tool, how to run the assets which are mostly stored in Bitcoin. We have Liberland merits and also Liberland dollars, which are part of the system. There is a good website. If you go to liberland.org/blockchain, it's very well explained. We have our elections every 3 months, which also I think is quite good because the people can change in the governance very quickly. People are voting directly, so the decisions are not, they don't have to be delegated to your congressman. You can also decide that you are going to vote directly with your merits. You don't have to trust your congressman. You vote somebody in Congress, but then you decide, I'm actually going to vote directly with my own shares of Liberland with merits. I don't even need my congressman. But there will be 21 representatives of Liberland that could be changed every 3 months. But they have the certainty that if they're going to visit Argentinian parliament, for example, that they're not going to lose the mandate in the middle of the visit. So I think it's also quite nice that these things are a little bit done differently than they were done in past. And then, as I told you, we've got the public veto, which is a very important element. People can get rid of, majority of citizens of Liberland can get rid of any law and also any person in the system that they don't like, which I think is a great way to make sure that no decision is happening against the will of majority. But at the same time, it's very important to say, majority of people cannot create new law because that always leads to more redistribution. It's a big problem in the democracies that we're living today. It's like kind of dictatorship of majority, and then it ends up redistributing money from one interest group to another, right? And the poor are trying to steal the money from rich through system of welfare, and through system of subsidies, the rich are stealing the money from poor. So we've got this crazy redistribution scheme which destroys prosperity. And I'm very proud about the justice system. That is something which we are now in the sprint for finalizing. It should be done in next 2 months. It's a very nice system of market for judges. I'm speaking now with 3 constitutional judges from other countries that like the system. They actually want to be active part of the system. So you enter there as a judge, you decide how much you want to be paid, and then the parties, one party decides, I want to have this judge, I will pay for him. The other party decides, I want to have this judge. And these 2 judges select a 3rd judge from the system, and collectively they do the dispute resolution. It's not completely new, but the new thing is that it's on blockchain. And yes, we have been inspired by international arbitration processes. I think it will create highly reputable courts in Liberland, highly competitive and also very fast. We were working quite hard with a number of countries around the world to achieve diplomatic recognition. I'm also here on a mission here. It's great to be able to combine the visit of Argentina both for this conference as well as to make some new friends in the diplomatic world in Argentina. We have achieved partial recognition by Haiti. We are working with El Salvador in Dominican Republic. quite a lot of job has been done on diplomacy. We're helping these countries on a humanitarian level, ambulances, fire trucks, food, and other stuff that we think could help these countries, and in return there is a little bit more recognition coming our way for what we are doing. Right now we're also adding this element of investment, so we're also sending not just diplomats to missions, but we're also sending a bunch of businessmen building factories in those countries, which is, I would say, much better than just pure humanitarian aid as we have done it before. We're working with the people in the European Parliament. To my presentation, almost all the groups sent some delegates. The extreme left didn't come, but otherwise all the groups sent somebody to observe my presentation. That was nice. We're working very hard with the congressmen and senators in the United States. I just came back also from US not too long ago. So it's very important for us to actually right now work on the recognition by separate states. I'm heading to Hawaii and to Texas Congress to support the fact that they are planning to vote on recognition of Liberland fairly soon. This is from our visit to El Salvador with Minister of Economy. That was quite a nice trip. This was when I was awarded at UN Humanitarian Award, also this summer. So things are rolling nicely. This is from the last visit in US again. This is the lady that is the director of this organization, Alec, and Newt Gingrich is a very famous US politician. That was great that we got to the highest degrees of US politics very recently, and I think it's going to be very important for the recognition of Liberland in the next rounds. We're working also, for example, we recently opened our office in India, very exciting, big country, a lot of stuff to be done there. We're working with African countries, and most importantly, we also finally managed to move forward with Croatia. This summer I, for the first time, met the Croatian president. We shook hands, exchanged, I gave him some letter, and I think that was the main reason why the borders between Croatia and Liberland were finally opened on 6th of August this year, and it's now available for visit and for business. We also have a funny side projects, like everybody talks about seasteading, so we were thinking why not do it actively. Seasteading is this idea that you can build a country, sovereign countries on open seas. So we decided, let's do it, let's make a test. And there is a nice boat under Liberland flag that has a bunch of servers and bunch of people working mostly as programmers, funnily enough, out of the boat. And it's just the initial testing project, but we are actually planning to have 40 of them connected to a grid and basically build a city in international waters and expand the 7 square kilometers of territory in the Indian Ocean. As I told you, the Hadid architects helped us quite a bit, but right now we're working more on the spot. We're trying to improve the relations with Croatia. The biggest village, nearby village next to Liberland, Batina, was playing, their soccer team was playing in Liberland dresses not too long ago. We're building a village next to Liberland called Liberland Arc Village in Serbia, which we're developing, currently finishing that part of the project. So if you're coming to visit, there is a decent place where Liberlanders are gathering. And this was the event that I told you about on the 6th of August that we managed to finally open the borders. These were the brave people that came there to test it if they will get in problems with Croatia. But this time they didn't. They simply were able to pass. We put up the plates, Liberland borders, we set up the border guards, and we started to develop Liberland. So Liberland has, as an only entity, neither Croatia nor Serbia run cadastre maps. Liberland has a cadastre maps. We're taking the parcels piece by piece, starting to occupy the territory, which is actually quite big. If you're starting from scratch with just a bunch of enthusiasts, 7 square kilometers to start properly developing is a bit of a challenge, but the parcels are over there, and most of the construction is happening now on Liberty Island. This was the first building that we built right after we settled directly in the Marina Mateos. There was a beach club. We have also quite a few boats that we park there. This is the activity of the workers not too long ago now from the Liberty Island. We've got beautiful sandy beaches, a lot of sand everywhere, so it's quite exciting. We have a project for the Liberland Hotel. It's a 10 million euro development project for a very nice hotel on the territory. So I'm preparing for next week when we have a longevity conference in Liberland to also properly show the project. We had a first wedding, and Navid was actually, that is with us, he was conducting the wedding, which was quite nice. We have annual festivals, music festivals. We actually just cut a deal with the Exit Festival, which is the biggest Balkan festival, to make some event in Liberland in the spring next year for the Liberland anniversary, which is 13th of April next year, if you're planning to come. And yeah, it's like that. I think the anniversary is probably the best time for you to come. We would love to see you. We would love to have you as e-residents. It takes a couple minutes to become e-resident. You can start your Liberland business. You will be able to utilize Liberland blockchain, establish companies on-chain, make your own shares, make your own governance board. All these things were just very recently finished, so I'm quite excited that this Factory DAO or DAO Factory finally also started to work. And if you help Liberland a little bit more with something, that means right now a contribution that you collect 5,000 merits, you also become a voting citizen inside of the system. Yet we have a very good program because we need to get more people to live in Liberland over the winter right now until the end of the year. If you're visiting Liberland just for 7 days and you actively help with something, construction of whatever wooden houses or just with supplies, because it's also quite difficult right now, you also are going to get citizenship, which I think is a great way to get it. Come for 7 days, help Liberland develop, and that's it. Yeah, we've got quite a bit interest. This is how much citizenship and e-residency cards we are distributing weekly now. So I'm quite excited that Liberland is really growing recently. And yeah, that's it. Very exciting to be here, and I hope to find a lot of good new friends here in Argentina. Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I have a couple of questions. Probably some members of the audience have questions. If you do, raise your hands, and then I'll pass you the mic. There's one. The first question, before going to, it's going to be mine. You mentioned Bitcoin in your presentation, but Liberland uses LLM tokens, which are like tokenization of your political rights. And then it uses, well, another blockchain that has to pay fees and whatever. How precisely does Liberland has a relationship with Bitcoin? Do you hold Bitcoin as a government?
Yeah, Liberland is holding Bitcoin as a main reserve asset. So whenever there is energy coming into Liberland, we are most likely to turn it into Bitcoin. If it's fiat, we take the fiat and we turn it into something reasonable like Bitcoin.
Excellent. That makes sense. My second question is about governance and the republic system you picked. For example, authors like Hans Hermann Hoppe in Democracy, The God That Failed, are severely very critical of the republic and democracy, and they propose alternatives like monarchies, for example, because they enhance, in his view, of course, the protection of private property. What's your view regarding the republic, and how come you expect to avoid the basic problems of democracy and republics when they grow bigger and start taking
Well, as I
away?
told you, we've got also this monarchical element. Of course, I read the book by Hoppe, and I was considering all different elements. And yeah, we really try to take the best elements of each governance system that there is and combine it into nice, decentralized, autonomous government, right? So from Republic, I think it's very important, basically, that our constitution doesn't allow the corporation, the Congress that runs Liberland, doesn't allow to basically do any rules about making business. We think that the state should stay out of business. It should literally only legislate on security, justice, and diplomacy. Leave the rest to private businesses. You know, why should state even actually organize marriages? You know, we don't want to have a crazy debate about the gay marriages that is taking over the world. Like, you can make a marriage in Liberland if you find a private agency or a minister of finance that is willing to marry you. You're very welcome, but there is not going to be any specific law about that, because we believe this is completely a business that the state shouldn't go into. So yes, Republic, I think, is actually great, because those are the rules that protect citizens against being robbed, actually. And those are the things. And democracy is good, but it's only good in getting rid of laws that could be problematic with the majority of society. If majority of basically shareholders decided something that would go against the majority of citizens, I think it's also good, because the less laws you have in society, the better, right? Any dead law is basically good law. So that's another principle. And yes, it's also good to protect the interest of the biggest shareholders, meaning small monarchy that we also have in Liberland. We also give them opportunity to get rid of laws. Because again, why? Because the less laws, the better for society, right? So I think, you know, we basically did a good job in fine-tuning these different elements and building it on blockchain.
Thank you. Questions?
Hello. First of all, thank you very much for. People must have called you crazy a bunch of times, and thank you for doing that and inspiring a lot of people. My name is Tomas. I'm from Real Talk. We empower digital nomad communities with blockchain technology to give them unique experiences around the world. And I was wondering, your thoughts and your words are very aligned with our future president, Javier Milei. I don't know if you have met him, talked with him, and in case that he wins, hopefully, what are your thoughts in making something with Argentina, building a strategic alliance, and especially because everything that you said I really liked. I felt very connected to it, like resonar, and hopefully this expands. So it would be great to have this knowledge in Argentina and to be able for kids to know that this exists from a young age. Thank you.
Well, of course, as I told you, I'm not here just for this conference. I'm also here to make some ties. And maybe some of you have noticed that the candidate for president here actually stated that he is a general ANCAP coming from Liberland in a couple years ago. And he then, you know, talked about Liberland in a couple other interviews favorably. So, you know, I find it very, you know, confirming my thought that basically our nation is basically worldwide spread, and the people that share it are going to form the most advanced basically nation on this planet. And we might be at the beginning of this trend. It's still, you know, only a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 active people of the community, because one thing is apply for citizenship. You know, that's easy, that takes 3 minutes, but also be active somehow in the community, do some real step, you know, come and buy that flight ticket, fly to Liberland and do something there. It's a completely different story than just filling up the e-residency form. But e-residency also helps, you know, you're part of the community, you can do business inside of Liberland. We will try to make it more comfortable for people to connect. I think we're missing quite a bit, you know, we're losing quite a bit potential because we didn't make it easier for Liberland businesses to connect. But I hope maybe private sector will also solve that sooner or later. So I don't want to replace, you know, some other agencies that might be betterly run by private businesses than they would be by the state. We're really trying to focus on taking care of security in Liberland, justice and diplomacy.
Well,
please.
Sorry. Well, I'm actually from Real Talk 2 as Tomas, so we are here, all of this line.
Okay.
Work with digital nomads community. So my question is, you said something like to become a citizen of Liberland, you have to apply, and also I guess you have to work to earn the citizenship, right?
Yeah.
So as you said before too, you said like the citizens become shareholders,
Yes.
right? And if maybe it's my misunderstanding, but if you think about the shareholder, you can exchange your shares and maybe you can sell it in the market. I don't think it's that the idea of the citizenship, right?
No,
if you get
because
the passport, you have to earn it.
Yes. By the way, I think it's nice to talk about this, because those shares that you're earning are not traditional corporate shares. Those shares are staked, and you can unstake 10% a year. But at the same time, when you start unstaking, you're losing your political rights. So basically, when you go on social welfare, you're only basically getting your taxes back from the state. You're not taking it from somebody else's account. And so if you don't have any merits, your social welfare in Liberland is not going to be very high. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Like our justice system, just like the whole idea of having taxes that the state cannot squeeze out of you, we also, this kind of non-violence principle, we have the same thing for our justice system. So instead of throwing people in jail, people are going to transparently lose their merits if they're messing up. And that, of course, like sooner or later we'll have to deal with some violent criminals, but right now we are outsourcing it to Croatia. I already wrote them. I don't have a problem with them enforcing their criminal law. But on the other hand, we are getting into this very interesting situation where basically, yes, we have problems with Croatian police. They're stopping us for no reason. But these Croatian policemen also already have merits. When they stop us, you open mobile application, you click on I'm being held hostage by Croatian policeman, and you show them the application, and he sees his account with his merits, and the merits are being, every minute he loses another merit for holding you, which is kind of cool because he directly sees how much damage is he creating to Liberland, and how much damage is he actually creating to himself. Because at some point when he would want to visit Liberland in future, he will have to sort out his debts with Liberland. Of course, some of the Croatian policemen will probably make a race who's going to have most minus merits. But for most of them, I think it will be great deterrent to bother us with bureaucracy and with some nonsense on the borders, right? Some people literally spend 6 hours on the border between Liberland and Croatia being held hostage for no reason whatsoever. So it was a lot of fun this summer. It's much better right now. But you can still expect some interesting stories while traveling between Croatia and Liberland.
Okay, well, this is the time, so we have to go. Please, big applause to Mr. Jedlicka, President of Liberland.
Thank you.